Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nubraids. And in today's video, we have just had the Blessing rework go live this week, and obviously alongside that, we have the stat rework to the blessings. So what I want to do here is, because we have this right now, and also I'm recording this probably one day before I publish it, but we should have the new Cursed City rotation actually starting tomorrow as well, which likely means free gear swap for a few days. This is a massive time, right? A massive time between Sand Devil and all of that becoming more farmable, and like with super raids in there now and re-rolling your ascensions, with really powerful gear sets like Merciless, the Rathalos set if you bought that Forge Pass, etc. There is so much coming to the game. I think this is a really good time to sit down and to talk about switching up champions, regearing champions. What am I looking to do? And I think I'm going to throw this out there. I'm very curious to get your feedback as well, like what you would do if you were me. And yeah, to break it down. So I've got a few different things we're going to look at in this video. So let's go. First of all, let's talk about some of the blessing changes. In fact, let me throw some champs that don't really matter away into the vault. I mean, here's one. Helior, I don't really use. I gave him emergency heal, right? He does a heal. When the heal gets removed, he heals. I kind of thought, why not? Let's throw a few champs away that are not really being used too much right now. Grand. Let's grab out Shazar specifically. A couple I want to talk about here. Here we go. So what have I changed in terms of blessings? Well, I'll tell you, one of the first things I did, because we have the free blessing change just went live, guys, as well. That went live on Friday. Again, I think I'm going to publish this on Saturday. I'm at a wedding for the weekend, so sadly I won't be able to do this on Saturday like I'd like to, which is why I'm recording a day in advance. Polymorph, though, this was supposed to be nerfed. I mean, technically it was nerfed. The blessing itself was nerfed, where it can now only occur once per enemy turn. However, because of the stat change, it's actually kind of a pseudo buff to Polymorph. So for example, Sun Wukong, who you have a decent chance of having a 4-star soul for. There was a Titan event, I believe, for Sun Wukong with a 4-star soul. Well, I mean, getting him to 4-star gives you a ton of stats now. HP, defense, even more HP. You're getting a big chunk of attack and a massive chunk of crit damage. Then if you got him to 5-star, I actually bought the 5-star blessing. He gets a ton of resist, but more importantly, a ton of accuracy, which is pretty huge. Polymorph, I think for Sun Wukong now becomes his best blessing, right? There are two main ways people build Wukong, maybe three. You can go really high damage, you can go for a hybrid build, or you can go for pure support, so really high speed and accuracy but no damage. And they're all viable in their own way. I guess if you're pure damage, maybe Polymorph is not so good, though if he's got any accuracy, you're kind of okay to go. But Polymorph really hides. What type of Wukong is this? Is he going to be doing damage or not? It's really hard to judge, because so long as he has any accuracy, he has got an amazing speed aura, so he's very likely to be at the top of your team, where Polymorph has a huge impact. And that can really disrupt things, right? Like, I don't know, like, let's say Aranda tries to block passes on Wukong. Great, now you've got a 10, maybe 15% chance to avoid that, which is pretty massive. If anyone tries to buff strip or debuff your team, a Wukong in the lead is really going to interfere. So Polymorph becomes really strong on him. Likewise, Bomb Champion. Switching them over to Polymorph, I think, makes sense. Shazar is another perfect example because he's got an amazing speed aura once again. But now with bombs, with Polymorph, you can build it. You get the attack and the accuracy, no problem. And bomb champions, how do you build them? Well, with high accuracy to land the bombs. So they're perfect contenders to hold Polymorph. Now, this is a 6-star Polymorph. It's irresistible anyway. But even lower bomb champions, like for example, Gaius the Gleeful, a previous fusion, now with Polymorph, he has a 10% chance to really disrupt the enemy team, which becomes, I think, just quite annoying for people to deal with. So that's in there. What other blessing changes have we made? So a big re-gearing that I am looking at doing is with Artak. Now, Artak, I actually have a 5-star soul from Artak that came from a hero's path. What is so big about this patch? Well, if you consider Artak, in order to solo Ice Golem hard stage 10 with Artak, it is very gear intensive. You need, I'm not sure the exact stat. Let me try find the exact stats for you. Okay, so we're on the Hell Hades optimizer. Now, this is not the best, maybe a low success rate. Let's see if we can find a higher success rate one. Um, this is okay. Let's say 98%. Sure. Let's dive in. 80%. Let's look at this one. 60 battles at 100%. Okay. So Artak, right? These are the sort of stats you need. You need regen and immortal, preferably. You need really high HP, really high defense, really high speed, really high resistance because you cannot get the decreased defense or heal reduction debuffs, and enough accuracy to place the burns. Very, very gear and stat intensive. I looked into doing this before and I could not do it. So I actually do Artak plus Elva, and Elva keeps him alive. The downside is it slows down the run a decent chunk, right? Maybe so much as a minute from this. It might be more like a 2-minute run because Elva has to use all of her animations, you know? So it adds on the time, right? Quite a bit. You've got, if it's, you know, Artak on his own versus Artak plus Elva, right? You're really doubling the turns. You're doubling the animations. So it adds a lot on. With this blessing stat bloat, really, right? Suddenly you're getting a ton of HP, defense, resistance, and accuracy. The attack and crit damage don't really matter here. But now, this might be a point where you go, oh, okay, for me, I need to now look into this. Regearing Artak away from like this sort of stalwart build for keeping him alive suddenly becomes much easier. And we can switch it up. The reason he's in Soul Reap, by the way, is for Spider. But I just pulled a second Newt, so I can now switch him away from that. And for instance, one thing we could do is if we put him in a Blood Shield accessory, emergency heal. 5-star emergency heal. So you're still getting all the stats, but now going to heal him by 9% max HP whenever a shield that's put on him removes or is expired. So if we just slap him into, if we've got one, it doesn't even need to be good. Here's one. It doesn't even need to be good. In fact, this one is good. It is good. It's really good. Slap him into that Blood Shield. He's going to constantly be applying Blood Shield with his AoE attacks, and that's going to give him a massive heal. Suddenly, Artak becomes much more potent. So this is one that I'm definitely looking to rebuild, for sure. So there you go. That is a big one. Really, really big change for him. One I tell you as well I'm thinking about, and I'm not sure, Sifi, in terms of regearing her. Sifi for me is a champion that is MVP, of course, for Arena, but she's also amazing for things like Hydra. I have had her, I used to have her in Life Harvest because Life Harvest is the destroy enemy max HP when they revive is actually quite nice. The turn meter boost when they revive is quite nice, and this used to give you a ton of HP. So it was kind of like a perfect blessing for Sifi. I'd say previously at 6-star, you would almost definitely be going Polymorph, right? Because that's when it's irresistible, and Sifi obviously has no accuracy built. So she wouldn't be placing Polymorph if it's not 6-star. So that was, I think, kind of like the old kind of way. I would have liked to build Sifi. Life Harvest up to 5-star, and it's really good. 6-star, switch it over to Polymorph. Now, where this becomes, again, interesting, one thing I'm very curious to test out, and maybe it's absolutely terrible, the new Faultless Defense. Whenever an enemy attacks an ally under increased defense, reflect the damage back. 9% here. Now, I'm not sure how good this is. Let's say Sifi gets hit for 50,000 with increased defense on. She reflects 10% back. She's only reflecting 5,000 back. Maybe this isn't enough. Like, maybe this just sucks, but I'm intrigued to test it out and see if it's good. Because she is an increased defense champion. Maybe it's okay in Arena. And for Hydra, right? Hey, because I use her. She's an MVP for Hydra as well. It gives you a little bit of extra damage. Again, I don't think it's going to add up to much. I'm probably going to test it, but my hopes are not very high. I'm likely, honestly, probably going to spend some gems switching stuff around and testing with Sifi. I still do think Life Harvest is really good. And then I think if you get to 6-star, it's going to be an interesting choice. Polymorph remains an extremely good option. The 20% irresistible sheep, very strong. Ward of the Fallen also becomes, I think, a pretty good option, where you start with 3 bone armor, which reduces your damage. You do some bonus damage if that's not important. But whenever you do bonus damage, so whenever she A1, she's going to regen a bone armor stack. That could be quite nice, actually, to keep her alive. Temporal Chains could also be pretty good. Like, you probably weren't going for this before because it was giving you accuracy, which, again, Sifi doesn't need. But now, seeing as it gives you everything, sure, just decreasing enemy speed, decreasing their turn meter, like, that could absolutely be a viable thing. So that's what I'm leaning towards with Sifi. I mean, Intimidating Presence is also kind of okay. Manipulating the aura. I feel like this one's actually not that strong. I would lean towards, again, Life Harvest. Life Harvest up to 5-star, I think. Maybe Faultless Defense. Polymorph at 6-star. Maybe Ward the Fallen. maybe temp chains, maybe still just life harvest. I mean, it's really good. So yeah, I mean, there's some spicy stuff there. I'm excited to test faultless defense. So some big changes with blessings. Any other big changes? Okay, a couple of more big changes in terms of blessings actually to watch out for. So with defensive nukers, it actually becomes much more difficult to get value out of blessings with them because the defense used to be at 2-star with polymorph. Now it's up at 3-star. The benefit is it used to be 400 defense at 2-star. Now it's 600 at 3-star. This becomes interesting. Regash is a great example. He is a champion that does thrive with a bit of accuracy because he's got an AoE decreased defense stun. So he's likely to have accuracy. So he becomes really good. In fact, he becomes extremely good the more blessings you have. He will have enough accuracy to place polymorph quite consistently. The defense is great. At 4-star, you're getting a ton of crit damage. At 5-star, a ton of accuracy. At 6-star speed, and it becomes irresistible. So yeah, like the 1 and 2-star for defensive nukers is quite poor now, but 3-star and above becomes really powerful. And I think that is the case for champions as well. Like Tormin is a perfect example. We had a hero's path for him, or Titan event for him recently, so a good few of you might have him. Again, my Tormin is 2-star. He used to be in 2-star polymorph. It's still good, but it's nowhere near as good as it was before. He's lost out on that defense, so he's become actually kind of weaker because of this patch, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a hit to Tormin. Right, that's something that's, again, it's just worth pointing out. Let's touch on other nukers first. Not Regash, sorry, Staltus as a defense nuker. Now, he also does well with his AoE stun with accuracy. I actually have him built right now with like 175, very low accuracy. He's really just built for damage, and he's not even that good. He's in like sort of my D tier, like 290. He's quite not super impressive. He's just sort of there. Soul Reap, right? This becomes actually quite decent. I mostly use him, sorry, by the way, Staltus I mostly use just for clearing Doom Tower hard. Sometimes I use the Seer team, but sometimes I use like like Elva with a Krisk, Ramantu, Regash, and a Staltus, and I find that's a really good team, just like defensive nukers, plus locking out their passives, and that rips through stages very quick. Probably about 2 minutes for stages, like at the top of Doom Tower hard, so it's slower than Seer, but it's easy to build and it smashes. Soul Reap, though, becomes a good option. Before, this was giving you attack stats. Now, it's giving you all the stats. So suddenly, this execute can become quite good on a champion like Staltus with AoEs. I say HP nukers actually benefit a lot from this. A lot. Funny enough. And they're actually really good even at low levels. So Arix, who's constantly pumping out AoEs, before you were really limited. Like Life Harvest was what I was running before for the bonus HP. Now, HP nukers actually get a ton of HP just at 1-star, which is nice. That being said, HP nukers aren't particularly that strong in Arena in terms of damage anyway, but you're getting a ton of HP at 1-star, which is nice. And you could do something like Soul Reap and Arix, who's constantly doing AoEs, that little bit of execute, 1-star. Like, it's really not much, but it's something to consider. Or again, you could put them in polymorph now, and they're still getting the HP if they're built with accuracy. That's, it's pretty decent. Honestly, like, a 20% execute on Arix can put out True Fierce. That's quite strong. The downside with HP nukers is the 2-star is basically useless for them. 1-star is really good. 3-star is not bad. It makes the blessing stronger in the defense. That's actually quite good. Quite a lot of effective HP. Extra defense on top of their very high built HP. And then 4-star is really strong. And then, yeah, even 5, 6-star, they're more about the blessings, like the resist, accuracy, even the speed, not too essential, I'd say, in HP nukers. But yeah, it really switches things up for them. It opens up a lot more blessings, which is actually really nice. Any final big changes I want to talk about? Oh, something else to consider. Bomb champions used for PvE can now run Brimstone, which is kind of cool, right? So for Bommel, Nishak, I can now run Brimstone. It's not big, but it's something, right? That extra smite, not too bad. Yeah, there are some of the changes that are happening with blessings that are worth considering, and in terms of who to build. Now, the other big thing, let's dive into something complex. So here we go. This is the other big thing I've been working on, which is rethinking my arena teams and regearing. Because, for instance, right? Actually, I'll be right back in 1 second again. I got to show you this. But Wukong, right? Now that he is 5-star, he is getting so many stats from this blessing. He's an absolute monster, right? He is a monster. He becomes by far the best nuker on my account. Like my next best attack nuker, I've got Supremo Hane's okay. Ethos. We've got Rhonda. You know, we've got a few, but they're down at 2-star. Rotus, but they're missing out a lot of stats because they're 2-star. So, yeah, this really mixes up the champions that you might build for Arena, right? Before, Lord Shazar, bit of a meme champ, useful to have, but now that he's getting so many stats from 6-star, and he can use Polymorph, like, it's a big boost. Having really highly awakened champions, they become, I think now, much higher priority to build. So let me actually, in fact, let me show you how I would do this. If we come over here and we go into the optimizer, if I go to my champion, and I was looking at Arix before. If I go to Wukong, I come in. One sec, let me start the optimizer. Okay, we're good. We actually had an update for the optimizer, which is cool. But let's optimize Wukong for this. So we're gonna go GPU optimizer with damage mode. I will allow it just use all my gear, right? Everything. Okay, let's say I want him to have, okay, yeah, actually 230 speed. Let's say 400 accuracy is what I want him to have. Okay, great. I want him to have these stats. Then we go into battle. Let's say we're fighting enemies with 4,000. Let's say 4,200, which is like your sort of your soft cap for value on defense. And again, I think with the defense boost from 3-star blessings, it's gonna be quite common. Like if I jump over, like my Sifi has actually 5,000 defense now, which is crazy. Let's see, Python. Yeah, like Python coming in a 3-star blessing, you know, it's 4,400. So yeah, like you're gonna be fighting to kill these really tanky champions. Let's say that. So that's how much they're going to have. We're going to optimize it for damage. Like, let's click go. You could also come into battle. You could say, imagine we've got increased attack. I'm going to say we might be running Wukong in live arena without increased attack, and we still want him to be able to kill stuff. So let's try that, and we can go in and optimize, let this thing run. It will sort through. I'll actually pause because this actually looks like maybe I broke it. No, we're good. We're good. Like, look at this. Actually, no, let's not pause right away. Like, instantly, I can re-gear him and gain like 30% damage. This comes from me. I think this is a bit of a flaw for me as a player as well. I think it makes me maybe a good content creator sometimes, but it can also be a weakness, which is I really like lots of champions and building up lots of stuff, but it means that compared to focusing on a small number of champions and really putting them in your best gear possible, I tend to try to build up loads of champs and really spread the best gear around. So if we like pause this for a minute, we'll resume it in a second. Like jumping over, by stealing gear from a bunch of different champions, like we can get him a massive chunk. I can get him up to 7.4k attack, 331 crit damage. He's actually not hitting the accuracy I told him to. That's interesting. The speed's going down a bit. I wonder why that is. I think I did tell them, didn't I not, that I have an accuracy threshold? That seems a bit weird. Yeah, strange. I'm not sure what's going on there. Actually, resume this. Well, I'll let it finish, and then we'll take a look. I don't know what's happening there. It's a bit strange. Yeah, so it's finished. I must have done something wrong. It's giving me, like, the 300 accuracy. Like, my only question is this not including the blessing? That'd be weird, right? Just, I don't know. There was an optimizer update. It's possible, seeing as he's getting the 75 accuracy. Like, is that why? I'm just curious because if I add 75 on, like he is hitting 400 accuracy with this, which is a bit unusual. But I mean, nonetheless, you can see I can gain 1,000 attack, over 1,000 attack, and I can gain 24 crit damage. Over here, I could gain this much. I mean, if we were to imagine, let's say we're running him with increased attack. Let's go again. Let's see how much damage we'd gain now. I'm quite curious. Again, it's been quite slow for me because we're recording. Oh, it's giving us the same thing. Ah, sorry. I thought it would be upping the damage. I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because it's probably comparing him with increased attack versus him with increased attack. I guess the actual raw damage numbers are going to be higher. Yeah, anyway, I think that's kind of an interesting thing to experiment with. But yeah, and we could add up all the accuracy. I mean, it doesn't look like he's losing too much, honestly, from this. Like, there's some accuracy there. This even has a bit of accuracy on it. It doesn't look like he's losing a crazy amount, but hey. Versus what he's wearing now. Does he have any perception on now, maybe? Oh, he does have perception. Maybe he is losing it. I don't know. Could be a bit of a bug, but I'm not sure. Doesn't hugely matter. We can work out the kinks in it as we go. But the point is, like, by focusing my best gear onto him, he's really gonna shoot up there. Like, he can do way more damage. It's actually kind of crazy. Like, a lot more. So, yeah, that's a pretty big deal, right? And I think it makes sense seeing as he is 5-star. Oh, look at this. It's actually calculating him as 4-star. So, yeah, there's definitely something going on there. Yeah, let me see. Can I, like, force an upload? Will that work? Maybe that's the ticket. I didn't force the upload. That's it. That's what it is. There we go. We solved it. Let me run it through once more just to make sure this works, and I'll be right back. Well, I'm not exactly sure again what's going on here. Is he actually going to gain 287% damage? I don't think so. This is curious. So with this build, he's actually losing a bit of speed. He's losing the accuracy. So now it's actually updated. It's including it properly. He's actually gaining way too much crit rate. What is going on here? Well, it's actually now put him into Merciless, which is really interesting. So with those new stats, switching him into 6 pieces of Merciless gear. And yeah, there's room. Like, we could ascend this attack percent thing. Is that right? Is he actually coming out with all of this crit damage? With crit rate gloves? That's crazy. But it looks like it. It looks like he's getting 288% crit damage with crit rate gloves. Wow. Okay. I need to tinker more with this. I should have probably done it before the video, but like, this is the crazy stuff where you can investigate and like, with what you get with 6-piece Merciless. With 6-piece Merciless, oh, it's 35% ignore defense versus the 25%. And even the 30% chance to decrease his skill when dealing damage. Like, imagine that. Wukong, and he just keeps coming back to his A2. Okay, right. It's actually a great example here. So the stat gain this time is not that crazy, but like, it's some 5-star Merciless pieces. But the Merciless gear is potentially so strong that that's actually kind of nuts. Yeah, I guess we've got 4 quad roll crit damage. We've got lots of crit damage rolls. I don't know. That's kind of nuts. And like I said, I'm not sure if all of this is displaying correctly, but still, it's quite determined actually to put him in Merciless. That seems to be the way to go. So hey, there, and we could tweak the stats. Like, we could put him, I don't know. Let's say we only wanted 300 accuracy now. Like, okay, I want to debuff their nuke. I probably wouldn't do that. In fact, I might crank his accuracy up more just to deal with ultimate Death Knights. But like, if we take a quick gander at this, maybe it's actually going to put him in the same gear. Almost the same, it looks like. And I'm not sure if these numbers are exactly correct. But yeah, if we did this, again, he's going into, it's putting him in all Merciless. He's getting more attack, less crit damage, losing some accuracy. But again, you can tweak it. You can tweak it as you want. Oh yeah, switching his banner now into an attack banner. Pretty funky. Yeah, this is a huge deal. Like, that could be a massive damage increase to Wukong, and then applying it to different people. So what I've been doing is come back here, and I think this is what I'm going to do, is to approach this fairly methodically. We might break this down again in another video, but looking at my attack nukers and trying to rank my attack nukers. Let me zoom it in so it's easier for you guys to see. In order of priority. Same with my defense nukers. Let's actually look at my damage first. So for attack nukers, I think Wukong with 5-star becomes my number 1. So he is the priority to get the best gear in my account. Rotus, I think Rotus is just so strong, he's number 2. Then I think Rhonda comes in, right? Wukong, Rotus, Ultimate Death Knight is a big problem. Harima is a really big problem because they both really, their main damage moves for both of them rely massively on ignore defense. Harima is a big problem. Rhonda gives us an answer to those by turning off the passives. Rhonda also gives us an answer against enemy Wukongs, and enemy Rotus is really good as well. So I think Rhonda makes sense as the next best. So this is probably how I'd arrange the gear. And Wukong, he's going to be leaning a bit more on the speed and accuracy. Rotus, obviously, is going to be really leaning on flat HP stats. It's going to be really strong for Rotus. He scales his damage off HP as well. Then Rhonda is more your classical attack nuker. She just wants much attack, crit rate, crit damage, and I guess speed as possible. After that, then this is where it comes in with my attack. Let move me this way. With my attack nukers, Volcanen, unfortunately, I've got no soul for him, but I have been using him in Hydra, so he's a pretty good one for getting good gear as well. I actually think Volcanen can be quite nice in live arena, but he is a bit niche. One interesting thing I've seen people do is put him in Stone Skin, because his secret move actually hits really hard. Now, this is an interesting thing. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Very niche build. So Volcanen, for Hydra, you really want Lethal or Rathalos or Merciless or whatever. Merciless would be ideal because his A1 hits hard. He's got a big single target hit here. But his A2 is very strong. That the AoE that counts a single target. In fact, maybe Rathalos is terrible. Maybe Rathalos set does not work with him at all. Quite possible, actually. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But he's a good Hydra champ. And then he can sort of double up as a good general damage dealer. But this block revive move is pretty cool. I have seen some people use him in like full stone skin, right? Against things like Torment, right? So they pick a Torment, you can put him in and he can just block revive and kill the Torment, right? Torment can sometimes be run as like a solo nuker. You could ban away their other stuff. And yeah, so that's something I have seen some people do. And Volcanen will be a bit better with the polymorph nerf as well, which is kind of a problem for him. And in fact, he would be another decent champion to put polymorph on. He does pretty well with a little bit of accuracy, especially for Hydra with the Hex. So he's one I might consider. Again, sadly, he has no blessing, which knocks him down a peg. Razelvark and Ethos, I've marked these. Anyone I've marked with yellow or with a star is also really good for PvE. Like, they're kind of crucial PvE champions. So Razelvark, insane for Hydra. So again, that makes sense. We could, Razelvark, he scales really well off speed. If I run him on lower difficulties of Hydra, I usually run him on hard, and I don't even bother putting him in ignore defense. Now, he'd be really strong in Rathalos gear, so that's something for me to look at, forging up my Rathalos set and seeing if we get anything. But he, again, with him, we've just cranked his stats kind of crazy high. Those attacks a little bit, but cranked his stats high. And he's not so reliant on the ignore defense because you're not fighting enemies. But still, he's going to be in good gear. And that's something to consider too. You might want to focus solely on Arena. And if we are focusing solely only on Arena, we might ditch Volcanen and Razelvark and not worry about that. But for me, because they're good for PvE, they might carry over and be somewhat useful for PvP. At least it's worth considering. Ethos is sort of for campaign and Minotaur farming. We've got Candrafon and Hefrak. I think they're about 2-star. They both stand out as being good contenders for running Stone Skin and doing damage. And we got other stuff like, let me know what you would pick. I think Baron, 2-star Baron. He'd be a big one to bring in. Foley is nice for the block revive. Dina is obviously really strong as well. We got some other stuff, but they're kind of low. Then for the epics, I've got Shemails, and they need to be in damage gear. They're kind of crucial for Hydra, so they need really good damage gear. And then Seer, obviously. Seer is Seer. He needs really good ignore defense damage gear as well. For my defense nukers, Regash at 3-star, 4-minute 2-star. They're both kind of must builds. I think they're very strong. Michinaki for Hydra. Again, he can be really good in lethal, right? Again, you wouldn't run him in Rathalos. He gets a lot of damage from his ally attacks with his A1. And those ally attack A1s scale really well. I like Michinaki. My favorite sets are either Provoke or damage, like lethal. They're my favorite for him. He can be good in Relentless as well. But I kind of like the sets that scale really well with his passive, because I think it's his passive that makes him so special, plus his utility, I suppose. Yeah, we got Staltis. Vizix is, again, she's built in Reflex for Hydra. Then Helicath is a big one, and Fortis. Fortis got buffed, right? He's a maybe, but he's 0 awakened. Helicath is a big one. Now, Helicath is very gear intensive, but he can be really, really strong. So he's probably the big one that I need to look into building. For HP nukers, I think Fatalis, sadly, no awakenings on him. But I do think that he stands out. I don't have him yet, but I've got the fragments. He's probably the best HP nuker I have. He's probably the best HP nuker in the game after Taris. It's just... Taris is just so obnoxiously overpowered that he makes everything else look bad. HP nukers are not supposed to really hit that hard. Fatalis, he does not great damage, but he's very tanky. I think he's probably worth building for some niche picks in live arena, but it's not too important. Interestingly, Arix would be the other one. I've got Mortu, who's also very niche. Again, Mortu would be built in like Stone Skin with really high crit damage. He ignores all defense anyway. Arix would be like the other really good HP nuker I have, and she's really strong, especially with her constant AoEs. So I might actually switch my gear over to Fatalis from Arix. And the nice thing is they're in the same faction. I guess it's also kind of a downside. You can't really build them both. But I think I can only probably build one. And I'll probably build Fatalis over the Arix. We'll see. I'm certainly excited to test him out and have some fun with him. Again, these are not like I pick them every fight champions. Both of these, Fatalis and Arix, really struggle to kill very tanky teams, but they absolutely rip through, I think, very squishy teams. They can take hits from squishy nukers, and yeah, they can potentially just destroy them. With bombs, I think bomb champions nowadays, I think actually got a little bit of a power surge with Polymorph being kind of nerfed. If Polymorph gets nerfed more, they're going to do really well. They're actually very good now to use Polymorph blessings themselves, and they scale really well with stone skin accessories as well. But I've got a 6-star Shazar. He makes sense to build. Gaius, I'd love to rebuild into like faster stone skin. I've got my Gaius is in a very old build now where he's in perception. I think having him in stone skin is kind of nice. Again, these are not champions you always use in arena, but if your enemy picks a team and they don't bring cleansers or polymorph, you can come in and be like, yeah, last pick, bomber, and they can be screwed. Cleansers, really important. These are the ones I've got. Pytheon, I've got very strong cleansers actually. Mithrala, Pytheon, Elva, Kaja, I think are all excellent champions. For buff strippers, one thing, I don't have Lady Mikage, but she's going to completely change my account. Lady Mikage is going to be absolutely massive. She's so strong. Don't have her yet. But Ramantu, fortunately, I do use him for Sand Devil now. So he's kind of locked into a really high accuracy build. Makes it a little bit, you can't, there's not much flexibility there. But Ramantu, Wukong, obviously buff strips as well. Uko, Kaimar, only 1-star. And then some optional ones. Gurgo, Alsgor, Cythalia, Ugir, Timit. And if we got souls for Kaja Timit, I'd use them more. Kaja is actually really nice as like a speed champion / cleanser. She can be really good. Like I know Biohack uses her all the time. It's a great effect in like, top end live arena. So Kaja is pretty underrated. Timit isn't obviously as good as Kaja, but if you're running Kaja, Timit could be an okay backup option to go with her. Could be interesting. But I probably want more blessings on him. But he's in there as an option. Gurgo, again, not great, but I've got him 5-star. So again, he could be a good carrier for Polymorph, right? Give him Polymorph. Right now, I haven't switched his blessing. He's Temporal Chains. I never built the guy. I only pulled him recently-ish. I did build him up, sorry, for Cursed City, but you can see the gear's not rolled up. He's one as well. But it's good to have some buff strippers, always. Control champions. Yumiko is the big one for me, and Lady Mikage will be huge. Then Kaimar, Tormund, Wukong. Pretty strong control. We got some backups like Hegemon is nice. Potentially the Gaius, the Gurgo. Again, some interesting stuff here. 6-star Harvest Jack. Not a great champion, but he's 6-star. For speed, straightforward enough. These are champs you might run really fast. Revivers, again, we've got some really strong revivers. Support are more just general buffs. I split it into protection and support is how I'm looking at it. Their protection is more important. These are like keep you alive kind of no matter what. In a way, like Ultimate Death Knight, hard counter single target damage. Mithrala is just giving you big shields and strengthens. And Goffred, he's got his passive. Alsgor, Helikath coming in. Again, I've marked Helikath as one to really build with block damage. Brogni with the shield. Krisk could be decent, but again, he's sort of built for Hydra, so he's not really set up for this. But Helikath, yeah, he'll block damage. Yeah, just sort of immuning damage, making you survive hits. These can be really good in bolster as well. Supports are more sort of debuffs. Again, these are kind of lower priority, I would say, apart from Mikage being insane. So yeah, there's some ideas, and what I've been breaking it down then into is the sort of gear I'll be putting them in. So these are my thoughts. The green champs are the ones I definitely built. So you can see sort of the lethal, merciless, that sort of stuff is in very high demand. There are a ton of champions that want that. Stone skin champs built for damage. We've got, these are quite varied. Bomb champions, and also more traditional nukers in these, in the Mortu, etc. Then other damage. These are damage dealers that can sort of do their job without it. So for instance, Physics can do good damage, but he's sort of better in reflex. Same with Shamael. Shamael can do really good damage, but he's sort of better in reflex. Ethos and Razelvarg, because you're putting them into sort of lower, like, let's say low Hydra for Razelvarg, though I think actually he's going to be very easy to scale up to higher Hydra. Be very strong with the defenses you get from these new blessings. I'll mention that in a sec. But, Ethos, he can farm Campaign and Minotaur without ignore defense. Razelvarg can do his job easily in hard Hydra. So could Ethos without ignore defense, Stone Skin, tanky champions. There we go. These sort of ones. Straightforward enough. Perception. These are guys that need lots of accuracy to do their job. Protection is something I'm looking into. I think Sifi could be really fun in protection. speed. These are champs you want as fast as possible. Again, there's a bit of overlap. Like, they all kind of want accuracy as well. There's quite a bit of overlap between speed, protection, perception, and even protection as well. These all overlap and are somewhat interchangeable. Like, you could run Mikage in perception, in protection, in speed. There's variety. Stun and provoke sets. Did stick Nekmothar in there, actually. I have him 6-star. But, you know, Timid, Hegemon, Uko, then Bolster. So, yeah, for me, like, I know I need to really work on, like, getting more champs geared up in Bolster, be pretty strong. But I thought this would be fun to give you a broad overview of the stuff I'm considering. I'm curious, like, if I show you all my champs, what would you do? What would you do? Again, I say the big ones that I am not using that I really should use more. Helicath is the big one. I do use him sometimes, but he's quite gear intensive to build. Maybe I should be prioritizing him much higher. I mean, he is a top tier arena champion. And he is 2-star, which is kind of nice. Like, we could get Helicath from 2-star up to 3-star. And we'd be in a pretty good spot. Like, I'd be putting pretty big priority. It's tough as well. Like, what do we buy with our essence? I'd say Helicath or Torment would be two that are standing out to me, as would love to get those up to 3-star for the extra defense, and then ultimately 4-star for the crit damage. Would love to get Rotus or Ronda up, but neither one massively benefits from 3-star, but they both benefit massively from 4-star. And they don't really need 5-star either. So they're sort of like 2 or 4. You know, you get a more clean progression with the defense champ, so I'm a little bit, yeah, wondering there, you know? Obviously, getting Steltis up to 3-star could be good too. Like I said, Baron is another big question mark. Getting Baron geared up, he can be so potent. That could be something to look at. And yeah, and so on. Again, with Yumiko, really need to re-gear her massively. But her big power spike doesn't come until 5-star. So that's kind of like pray we pull a better soul for her, really. She's so far off being good. And then, of course, with, you know, our big essence, Wukong is potential. Probably Sifu would be the big one for the extra speed, getting her to 6-star. Of course, here's another thing to consider for Hydra. Getting someone like Krisk to 5-star for Hydra champs is huge. Resist and accuracy, both incredibly good stats for Hydra. So that makes very big impact. So that's something I'm considering as well. But yeah, the final thing to end on, I've mentioned Hydra there. This is something to consider too. You're going to find not only Hydra, but all PvE content could become quite a chunk easier, right? If you've got some blessings on your champions, like with Razar, like bringing him into Hydra, it can be tough for an attack-based damage dealer to not have a reviver because they tend to be very squishy. Well, now you're getting a big chunk of attack and potentially a big chunk of defense if you got some blessings on. This can make it much easier to keep them alive without, you know, needing to have, let's say, Defiant set, without needing to bring a reviver. This could open up a lot more interesting builds. Yeah, for Hydra, for any PvE sort of content in general, the tankiness that you're going to get on these champs can really add up. So, like, again, Wukong now, hilariously, is coming in with like 53,000 HP and 2.6k defense. I have not built him with any HP or defense, like literally zero. Razar, again, he's getting some because he's in Stone Skin. He's like 48k, 3.4k defense. Like, he's tanky. He's not built to be tanky. He just is because of the stats from blessings. They really add up, like 6-star Nekmo. Yeah, I need to re-gear Nekmo. He has too much accuracy now, right? He's too much because he was in Cruelty before. He still is for Hydra. Now he's got too much accuracy, so we can drop his accuracy down a lot. Like, we could drop basically 75 accuracy down, and we're still pretty much good. Maybe not quite that, but, you know, we could drop his accuracy at least 20 points and he'll be totally fine. Like, I can do some re-gearing there. Plenty to talk about in this video. I'm sure I'll be back for some re-gearing maybe at the end of the weekend or Monday or something when I can actually get into it. But I wanted to just give you my gist on what's going on. Definitely, I'd highly recommend the Hell Hades Optimizer. I think it's very helpful. Also, I'd give a shout out to Eherbad. He's going to be updating it. I was chatting to him. He's going to be updating. This is like his sheet that's apparently linked in all of his videos. But you guys know I've got massive respect for Eherbad. We just did that podcast together as well, which should have been out yesterday. You can check that out, talking about all these changes. But he has like the info on his champs, like the sort of speeds on his champs, the accuracy, the sets. I think this is a really good thing to do. He was saying he's probably going to add in blessings as well to this sort of spreadsheet now, sort of track like where he needs champions, what he's using them for, what sort of builds they're in. I think that can be really good to check, tracking your glyphs, making notes, be really effective. So yeah, there you go, guys. What are you doing with your regearing? Let me know. And what would you do if you were me? Like I said, are there any of these champions that you're like, nope, you are crazy for building them, or you're crazy for not building them? I'm curious what you think, and what would your priorities be? Like, I've tried to arrange them somewhat in order of priority. Yeah, somewhat. Like I said, Helicath is the big one that's big outlier. But yeah, they're fairly in order of priority. Like I said, Lady Mikage coming in is going to be the thing that really massively switches up my account. That's the next, I think, massive game changer. I just can't pull the epics together for my life. Anyway, see you next time, guys. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.